I often find myself frustrated with the messaging we hear from political leaders. Frustrated when fact checkers seem to cherry pick what and who gets scrutinized. Frustrated with a press that sometimes tells only one side of the story. And perhaps most of all, frustrated when people like you and me, take what we're told at face value without pausing to question or to think critically for ourselves. In philosophy, there's a term for this: reductionism. It's what happens when a complex situation is boiled down to a single, simplified aspect. Sure, that aspect might be true, but it doesn't really reflect the full reality. You might know this as truth by omission, when one piece of information is presented as if it's the whole truth, while equally important parts are totally left out. Now, let me give you an example. If I say the sky is blue, that could be true from a certain perspective. And if I say the sky is black, well, that could also be true depending on the time or context. But neither statement tells the full story. The sky is blue, but it's not only blue. Recently, the topic of weather manipulation has resurfaced in the media, fueled by the terrible destruction caused by Hurricanes Helene and Milton. My heart goes out to all those who lost loved ones, homes, livelihoods. Lives have been shattered, and for many the future feels uncertain. Now, next week, I'll be sharing a more personal story as Hurricane Helene hit close to home for me, with my friends and family in North Carolina deeply impacted. But this week, we're turning our focus to a different question: weather manipulation in the United States. It's a topic that often gets dismissed or downplayed. Our leaders in the media tell us that the sky is blue, but we know there's more to the story. So today, let's take a deeper look and ask ourselves, what aren't we being told?
Are you not curious?
Preparing to transfer the Ryan files. Now.
I present to you, with great intrigue and wonder, the Ryan files.
Well, before we dive into today's episode, I just want to again acknowledge the many people affected by the recent hurricanes. The devastation left behind is heartbreaking, and our thoughts and prayers are with all those who are still picking up the pieces of their lives. This episode isn't about the cause of these specific events, nor is it to suggest that weather manipulation is, in fact, responsible for them. However, we do live in an era where technology and control over natural forces is no longer the stuff of science fiction. This discussion is about exploring a possibility, whether systems exist or research is being conducted that could give governments the ability to influence the weather. And again, we're not here to talk politics or point fingers and make accusations based on anyone's ideology. We're simply here to look at what's documented, what's plausible, and what's not. Weather manipulation from HAARP to other technologies might seem far-fetched to some, but for others, it's a question that lingers at the edge of what we know is possible. So today, let's take a closer look at the idea. What's science? What's speculation? And where the line between the two might blur.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop.
Now, despite this strenuous denial from our commander-in-chief, the reality is that weather modification isn't new. Certainly not to the United States. In the 1947's Project Cirrus, the U.S. military attempted to alter the course of a hurricane through cloud seeding. Between 1967 and 1972, during the Vietnam War, Operation Popeye saw the U.S. military using cloud seeding to extend the monsoon season, making it harder for enemy troops to move. We know for a fact from episode 31 of the Ryan Files that cloud seeding isn't a conspiracy. It's a well-documented fact. It's an ongoing exercise not only in the United States, but also in other countries like China, and Russia, and the United Arab Emirates. Now, China openly admits to regularly using cloud seeding to alleviate droughts, and Russia has used it to fight wildfires. And the UAE, well, they used it to help build a city in the middle of the desert that you know as Dubai. Then there's the technology. Patent number US 116329116B2, granted on April 25th, 2023, describes propagating sound through bodies of water to generate and direct wind with the aim of moderating and affecting weather patterns. That's right, wind control in black and white. Or how about patent application US 20130175352A1 filed on January 7th, 2012. Its title is Method to Influence the Direction of Travel of Hurricanes. Let's not leave out patent application US 20030085296A1, granted on May 8th, 2023, and is simply titled Hurricane and Tornado Control Device. These patents are real, they exist, and they give us a glimpse into not only what's possible, but that there is a reality to the concept of controlling the weather. But it doesn't stop there. Patent number US 4686605A, the infamous method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, and or magnetosphere. That's the patent that led to the development of HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Now, officially, HAARP is described as a program to study the ionosphere, but many believe it has weather manipulation capabilities. These patents clearly describe methods of altering the atmosphere, and given that this technology dates all the way back to the late 1980s, just think of how far it could have been developed today. And there's no lack of speculation out there, as many unexplained weather events have been seen to coincide with HAARP's activity. And beyond weather control, to this day, there's widespread speculation that HAARP was used to trigger the 2010 Haiti earthquake, as well as other seismic events around the world. And let's not forget about the U.S. Air Force report from 1996 entitled Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. This document outlines the military's interest in weather control as a potential weapon. Can you tell me with a straight face that the U.S. isn't interested in manipulating the weather? That's simply not the whole truth. Dr. Nick Baggage, a researcher into HAARP's effects on weather manipulation, has written much on the subject of HAARP, including this segment from the publication Angels Don't Play This HAARP. The U.S. government has a new ground-based Star Wars weapon, which is being tested in the remote bush country of Alaska. This new system manipulates the environment in a way which can disrupt human mental processes, jam all global communication systems, change weather patterns over large areas, interfere with wildlife migration patterns, negatively affect your health, and unnaturally impact the Earth's upper atmosphere. Baggage goes on to specifically assert that HAARP's high-powered radio waves could disrupt the ionosphere in ways that influence weather systems or direct storms. He, along with many others, believe this capability could be weaponized. But think of the implications. The ability to create or steer a hurricane? Imagine the devastation that could be unleashed with just the right push of atmospheric pressure. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden once said, "We have the technology to not only influence, but also steer weather systems. If used with military intent, it could be one of the most subtle and devastating weapons ever deployed." Did you hear that? We have the technology to not only influence, but also steer weather systems? Steering hurricanes, manipulating rainfall, or causing droughts. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but when you look at the technology, the military interest, our country's history, the actions of other countries, and the countless weather modification businesses right here in the United States, it suddenly becomes strikingly obvious. Weather control is all around us, and that is the reality we live in, and these are facts that cannot be disputed. In 2012, Hurricane Sandy demonstrated some erratic behavior as the storm took an unusual sharp left turn towards New Jersey and appeared to be influenced by external forces. Some believe that military technologies may have been used to direct the storm to politically important areas in the run-up to the 2012 presidential election. And what about Hurricane Harvey in 2017? Many theorists argue the intensity and rainfall could have been manipulated as the storm remained stationary over Texas, dumping unprecedented amounts of rain over Houston and impacting the U.S. energy market. And remember 20 years ago when Hurricane Ivan hit the U.S. not just once, but twice? Was this a result of a storm being steered? You tell me. Were any of these the results of storm steering? It's impossible to say definitively, but the question remains. Are these natural disasters, or could something more be at play? The solar maximum is expected to peak in 2024 and continue into 2025, marked by an increase in solar activity like sunspots, solar flares, and coronal mass ejections, or CMEs. These solar cycles typically last around 11 years, and the solar maximum has historically shown a disruption in Earth's magnetosphere, causing geomagnetic storms and auroras. And as many of you have noticed over the last year, we have been seeing the northern lights here in the United States not only at a higher rate, but also at latitudes much further south than we are accustomed to. But here's where it gets interesting. HAARP, when active, can create artificial auroras by heating up sections of the upper atmosphere. Sounds familiar, right? These auroras mimic what happens naturally during geomagnetic storms caused by CMEs. So what if HAARP's activities could be hidden under the cover of solar activity? Conspiracy theorists suggest that as solar maximum approaches, CMEs could be conveniently blamed for atmospheric anomalies, when in fact HAARP or similar programs might be responsible. This connection raises the possibility of a convenient cover story, one that deflects attention from potential weather manipulation and electromagnetic experimentation. According to author and researcher David Icke, when auroras light up the sky, the government can blame it on the solar maximum, but those who know what to look for will see the signs of HAARP, strange, out-of-place auroras caused by deliberate manipulation of the atmosphere. And when you look at this chart of CME-related activities versus the history of HAARP, things get interesting. When HAARP was first put online in the early 1990s and operated by the military, we see a massive increase in CME-reported activities. When the facility went through a period of dormancy, especially during the time when the military turned over control to civilian researchers around 2014, we see a decrease in reported CME activities. And of course, there is today, during Solar Maximum 25, which won't be over until 2025. And we can see that we are approaching similar numbers as we saw in the 1990s. And this data also, not surprisingly, coincides with the recent outbreak of historically strong solar storms and auroras. And remember, the United States isn't the only player in the game. Russia's Sora ionospheric heating facility, China's ionospheric heating facility, and the European Incoherent Scatter Scientific Association, they all have similar capabilities. Cloud seeding, storm steering, ionospheric heating. These technologies exist, and many believe they're being used. And of course, these are just the facilities that we know of. Now, who's to say that after the U.S. turned military control of HAARP over to civilian researchers, they didn't build a better, more advanced, hidden facility? And it's not like countries like Russia and China are making a secret about their ability to control the weather. Russia has a long history of weather modification, particularly cloud seeding, which it uses for events like military parades or agricultural purposes. In 2008, China's Meteorological Bureau proudly stated, "Cloud seeding has been used to alter weather patterns, and our ability to influence weather has improved significantly with technological advances." China's weather modification efforts are among the largest globally, with its plans to expand its program to cover an area the size of India by 2025. 2025. Why does that number keep popping up? Remember when we talked earlier about the U.S. Air Force's 2025 report on the military's potential of weather control? It clearly states, in 2025, we may be able to influence the weather as a weapon on a battlefield. This capability would provide a tremendous strategic advantage. Are we to believe that Russia and China are ahead of the United States when it comes to technology to control the weather? Because according to the President of the United States, We have nothing to do with weather modification whatsoever. In fact, the idea is beyond ridiculous and so stupid. This is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Government for the people, by the people. So why the lie? Why the lie? We live in a world where governments are quick to deny, quick to simplify, quick to say the sky is blue. But we know it's not only blue. The question we must ask ourselves is, what else aren't they telling us? As Dr. Rosalie Bartel said, a well-placed hurricane could cripple a country's economy or infrastructure. It's the perfect deniable weapon. How do you prove Mother Nature was tampered with? When our leaders tell us that we don't control the weather, it takes more faith to believe that statement than to acknowledge the truth. At a minimum, we have and continue to manipulate weather through cloud seeding. We've patented technologies to influence, create, and steer storms and disrupt weather systems. And we've considered the military applications of controlling the weather. These are the facts.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop.
The weaponization of weather is no longer a conspiracy. It's a real possible reality. The question is not if we control the weather, but to what degree. Weather is the ultimate stealth weapon. It can destroy entire cities, economies, and nations. And yet, no one can definitively prove it wasn't just an act of God. Dr. David Keith. I'm not a big fan of politics, and certainly not of politicians. I think the system is broke, and that special interest groups, greed, and power run this country rather than the voting public. But it doesn't mean that I don't hold on to the hope of a brighter future. I am lucky to be able to call myself an American. But there is nothing that gets me more fired up than when our elected officials from all parties and from all walks of life lie to the American people and then double down by stating that if one doesn't believe their lie, they're stupid or ridiculous. That being said, don't confuse this episode as an indictment on our country's weather control programs and the recent hurricanes that have ravaged the eastern United States. I don't believe we are unleashing extreme weather on our own citizens, but that certainly doesn't rule out other countries using weather as a weapon against the United States. And it's important to make these final points, as next week I want to take a closer look at the devastation being experienced by some of my own friends and family from North Carolina as rescue and cleanup efforts continue after Hurricane Helene. So please join me for this special report as we conclude the first year of the Ryan Files. Your support means everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this channel, please give the video a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. Thanks for helping us out. And please stop by theryanfiles.com and become an agent. We can't wait for you to join our community. Have an amazing week, filers, and take a moment to do something nice for a complete stranger this week. It makes a difference in the world. Stay curious out there, and I will see you right here next week for episode 52 of The Ryan Files.
The Ryan Files.